Hello, it's Martin from rc-bitz. Just really want to show you today preparing the body ready for painting. So going through the process of cleaning up the body and then obviously masking it up. You see here we're at the sink with some warm water. So what we need to do is we need to wash the inside of the body when these Lexan shells are made over a template, and there's a releasing agent in the template, and that residue and grease from our hands as we've been cutting the body out will be inside the shell, and we just need to get rid of that because it'll inhibit the paint sticking to the shell. So what we need to do is we just need a couple of drops of sort of dishwash liquid and then just some warm water, and then with your hand just give it a really good clean. Make sure you get in all of the cracks and around the windows where the impressions are, and get rid of all of that releasing agent. Obviously before you do this, it's a good idea to give your hands a really good wash, because the last thing you need is more grease coming off your hands and then affecting the body. Do give it a really good clean on all the edges. You don't want the paint to be coming off. It's a good idea, once you're happy with how clean it is, to then start adding some fresh water to clean it off and rinse away some of those sides. You'll hear now it's starting to sound nice and clean. Take that water away. Really good rinse. Warm water is good for this because obviously it helps it dry in a minute once we're happy. Once you are happy, you can have the cast to one side just to let it air dry. I like to get a clean towel or cloth and then just get rid of most of the excess. You'll find it will collect in the crevices on the body. You may want to use a hot air gun or a hairdryer just to speed up the process. You don't want smearing inside the body, so I tend to take off as much of the water as I can. The trick now is to keep this as dust free as possible and obviously as grease free as possible so that we can mask it ready for painting. Okay, I'll go ahead, I'll do the two front light clusters and obviously the flatbed and then come back and show you the next stage. Okay, we're now at the point of masking off our paint scheme. You can see laid out here I've got some Tamiya masking tape in various different sizes from 6mm through to 18mm. It is worth investing in some decent hobby tape. You've also got some decorators masking tape here, which I tend to use for blocking out larger sections. But the finer paper on the Tamiya tape, much less risk of bleeding underneath the tape while you're spraying. So it is a good idea to use that. And it's much thinner, so it's easier to turn corners and do some more intricate masking. Obviously I just use my Lexan scissors to cut that tape if I need to cut some curves in it, or you may want to lay it down onto the body and then again use your sharp craft knife just to cut around the edge. Okay, the scheme that we're going to do on this body is as the box artwork. So what we need to do is mask off this bottom section so that we can paint this colour first, and then leave a small stripe through here that we're going to paint red, and then obviously paint the top part in the silver. The other things in addition to this that you'll need, obviously there's your sheet of window masks that we'll use to mask out the windows, and maybe just some bits of plastic or paper, for our larger sections you want to block out and protect from the paint. So with your window masks, start with the smaller windows like these rear quarters, and that'll just allow you practicing getting them in the right place before you start on one of the major windows. So just peel your masking off, check that you've got the right window. What we actually do is look at it from outside and put your masking on the inside. And the real trick is to try not to touch the edges of these window maskings, because that's the bit that we really want to stick and get a good adhesion on. So if you look here, we lined up these edges, then we gradually work from that corner with the back of your nail to just flatten that window masking firmly against the bodywork. It's the edges you want to focus on, that's where you don't want the bleed to come through. Just keep pushing that down. So remember, apply the masking on the inside of the body after it's been cleaned, making sure obviously your hands are clean, and offer up, you know, a corner to get it level in the window hole, and then gradually work the edges with your nail to make sure it's down firmly. Start with your smaller window maskings and then work up to the bigger ones. Okay, I'll go ahead, put the rest of these window maskings on, and then come to mask the body stripe. If you want to check where you're going to line up the window mask, hold it on the front, the reverse, you can see that we need just over 1 mil either side, and then, you know, right on the top edge, and that'll then fit. Now with all our window masks on, we're going to mask off this waistline, because the first colour you should always paint would be your dark colour, and the bottom section is going to be a sort of metallic dark grey. So we'll mask that off now, and then just block out the rest of it so that we can do the first spray of that dark colour. You can now see I've added the 2 pieces of masking to create this stripe around the waist. You'll find that as you turn the corners, you'll need to just relieve some pressure by cutting the masking, and then on the inside bend you'll get some rucking to just make sure that you've got a good edge on the edge that's going to be painted. Now what we need to do is just mask off the other sections just so we can put the stripe in. So what I'll do is I'll use some wider masking just to touch up to this edge. Don't need to get it right onto the edge that we're going to paint, just so it's butted up, and then mask out the rest. So I'll do that and come back and show you. I added a second run of wider tape, and then just a load of this decorating tape just to block fill the bit that we don't want to get covered. Now what I need to do is, I've got a piece of plastic, I'm just going to stick this in and join all those edges up and make sure all the edges are sealed so that no paint is going to get underneath that bottom edge. All we're left with is a very small line that we're going to paint. I've then blocked out the bottom and blocked out the top. The first thing that we'll do is we'll just run our finger over this masking and just check that it's all completely seated. And then we're going to spray that line with a few light coats of the colour first. Leave it sort of 15 minutes between coats, and then once 3 coats are on, we'll then peel this bottom section of masking so we can lay up the second colour. So just to recap, do spend some time planning out your paint scheme and the order of colours that you're going to be laying them up in, remembering that dark colours need to go on first and then finish with your light colours. Also think about your masking and the process you're going to go through, because you don't want to be faced with removing all of your masking tape to remask for the next colour. So you see, like I've done here, we're going to lay up this stripe first. Once that stripe's done, we can peel off this bottom section of masking completely, leaving the top bit intact. Then we can lay up our dark metallic grey along the bottom. Once that's then laid up, we can remove this top section, which will just leave the window maskings. We can then spray those in the silver, which is our top colour. And then finally, we can remove the window maskings and apply any window tint, or simply just the decals for the windows. So you can see we've done one process of masking, and then all we'll do is remove them in sections to gradually build up our colours. So just put your window maskings on first, start with your smaller windows, offer them up so you can see where they're going to go, get it level in a corner and work your way out, focusing on the edges because that's where the bleed will occur if you don't get them stuck down properly. Then plan your rest of your masking so that you can start with your dark colour and finish with your light one. If there is a small period of time between your masking and spraying, I would always advise just to go back over with your finger and your thumbnail just to make sure that all the masking is stuck down correctly. Also, it's a good time to just note you can get liquid mask which you can paint onto the body in sort of 4 coats, leave overnight to dry, and you can then cut out your designs. If you've got a very complex design, that's one way of doing it. I've always been happy using ordinary masking, but do try either. They're both very successful. Okay, thanks for watching. Next stage is to then start laying up the colour. See you in the next video.